Class of 2018, congratulations. You did it. You have reached one of the big milestones in your life, high school graduation. I hope that as you reflect on your path to this day, you are able to see it as an adventure. And like any good adventure, that you have stories that you will cherish for many years, and that you will relive them with one another when you get old and when you are together, as old as maybe I am. It might be tempting to read into this and assume that these stories are filled with athletic victories over school rivals, A+ after A+, and leading solos on the stage, lit with the spotlight, perfectly centered on you. But as every adult in this audience knows, it isn't our triumphs that make the best stories. Rather, it's the challenges, frustration, obstacles, awkwardness, and even defeats. But it is through adversity that we grow, where we learn what not to do and how to learn humility and empathy. Author J.K. Rowling told a Harvard graduating class, "The knowledge that you have emerged wiser and stronger from setbacks means that you are ever after secure in your ability to survive. You will never truly know yourself or the strength of your relationships until both have been tested by adversity. Such knowledge is a true gift for all that is painfully won." Now, I don't want to minimize your successes. You are a group of accomplished people who have excelled academically, artistically, and athletically. These successes, however, have not always come easily. Some of you candidly and humbly shared your stories during your senior speeches of how you worked to overcome your shyness, found your voice, and worked through your academic struggles. You spoke of the additional time it takes you to complete assignments, or the difficulty you had reading and writing due to your dyslexia. You shared how tough it has been to be so far away from home as an international student, where you needed to adapt to a new culture with people who speak a different language than you and already have established relationships. You talked about falling on the ice, losing on the field, struggling with anxiety, health, and relationships. But your stories didn't end there. They ended with small and big achievements, laughter at your missteps, and raucous applause for your brave progress. As you spoke story by story, you gained insight into and empathy for one another, and learned that no one is immune to adversity, even if it varies in scope. Local author and businessman Harvey Mackay shares, "There is no education like adversity. Adversity impacts every person at some time. It's how you meet it and what you make of it that determines the outcome." It's hard to believe, but adversity actually can be a positive thing, even though it certainly doesn't feel like it when we are facing it. Your parents and family clearly remember your earliest reactions to adversity. The first time you howled in frustration when you couldn't get out of your crib, when you tried to pinch that Cheerio to pick it up and then lost it just as it was about to get to your mouth, and when you struggled to write your own name for the first time with your very own pencil. Somehow you mastered all of these things through determination and practice. So as your adventure through life will undoubtedly contain challenges, frustrations, obstacles, awkwardness, and defeats, it's up to you to resolve how you will overcome them. I am sure it will be with the same determination and continued practice as you had in childhood. I think it helps if you remember these challenges make you stronger, smarter, and more resilient, which is similar to a Stoic concept of amor fati, a Latin term meaning for the love of one's own fate. Amor fati is the mindset that once something has happened, you embrace it as a learning experience, no matter how difficult. It can mean remembering to strive to make the short-term bad a long-term good, because you know that the journey is really not about getting somewhere. It's about the adventures, the stories, and yes, even the adversity you face along the way. Next year will assuredly bring new challenges, courses that test the limits of your work ethic, distances that will test your friendships, and situations that rattle your confidence. And I hope you revel in them all. As J.K. Rowling said, it is through them how you will know yourself. We know you, and we have confidence in your ability to face anything with knowledge, compassion, empathy, creativity, and grace. I look forward to, class of 2018, learning of your adventures. Congratulations. It is now my pleasure to introduce the valedictorian of the class of 2018, Sarah Lay. Sarah will be attending the University of Minnesota College of Science and Engineering in the fall. Sarah.
When we least expect it, life sets us a challenge to test our courage and willingness to change. The challenge will not wait for us to decide whether or not to accept our destiny. These words, uttered by Brazilian novelist Paulo Coelho, aptly describe the world that the class of 2018 was born into. Each of us came into the world during the dawn of a new millennium, a time of uncertainty, and a mixture of fear that the world would end and excitement that our society was pushing forward to the future. Change is our birthright, and it has accompanied us throughout our entire lives. MP itself has undergone numerous changes. A pre-kindergarten grade level was established, classes now begin half an hour earlier, and we have seen a turnover of school leadership. In fact, we are the first graduating class that has been in high school during all of Dr. Hudson's time as head of school. Unfortunately, our grade always seemed to miss out on some new opportunities. The year after we entered upper school, the middle school dress code was liberalized, leaving many of us with closets full of solid colored clothing into our upper school years. Additionally, the year that we went into fourth grade, third grade classrooms got exercise balls for chairs. Sixth grade students began receiving iPads the year that we entered seventh grade. And I-term classes became a part of middle school when we began upper school. Tekale would like to add that the change that affected him most was the loss of the juice machine in the cafeteria. He misses his apple juice. Despite this pretense of complaining, our admittedly minor brushes with disappointment and change have prepared us to grapple with the challenges and failures that we will undoubtedly face in the future. The year 2000, when many of us were born, brought numerous changes. The beginning of a new era, an increase in the use and popularity of mobile phones, and the publication of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. A little more than a year later, 9/11 occurred, forever changing how our country approaches national security. Google was invented in 2004, and YouTube and Facebook followed in 2005 and 2006, respectively. Clearly, our society was moving rapidly into an era of technological change. We also began to strive for greater social change and equality with the landmark election of Barack Obama as the first African-American president in 2008, and the Oberg-Fell v. Hodges decision in 2015, which cemented the marriage rights of same-sex couples. 2017 and 2018 have been no less eventful. Our senior year saw a nearly unprecedented number of natural disasters, beginning with a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in Mexico in September 2017. We witnessed 7 hurricanes, including the devastating Hurricane Harvey, extreme monsoon flooding in Bangladesh, a damaging mudslide in Colombia, the second largest blackout in history in Puerto Rico as a result of Hurricane Maria, and raging fires in California. Locally, we experienced nearly 19 inches of snow in mid-April and 100-degree temperatures in May. More recently, volcanic eruptions in Hawaii and Guatemala have left many cut off from electricity and power. Whether these events lead to real political and social change remains to be seen, but MPA students are certainly active in discussions of climate change and the environment, eager to engage with these very real problems. Meanwhile, school shootings continue to be a pressing issue in our country, from Marshall County to Parkland to Santa Fe. Today, the average number of school shootings has risen from 1.4 to 2 per week. Students across the country continue to fight for gun control legislation, and MPA students continue to be an active part of that discussion, lobbying their representatives, and more recently, raising money for Everytown, a gun safety organization. Needless to say, this year has been a memorable one. As an up-and-coming philosopher once said, "Senior year, much harder than advertised." Those wise words, uttered by our own Tom Fitzgerald, aptly apply not only to the challenge of juggling college admissions and classes, but also to the trials our country and world faced this year. Beyond the lasts that many of us marked, last first day, last AP test, last concert, last game, and finally, last day of high school, there are also the firsts that we have to look forward to. First day of college, first roommate, first apartment, and first professional job. All of the change that we have witnessed throughout our lives has only prepared us more fully to face these new experiences. Today, the class of 2018 stands poised to create a positive impact on our world, whether through public policy, making new discoveries, creating the next masterpiece, or educating the dreamers and doers of tomorrow. As Barack Obama once said, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek." Today, as you officially enter into the next stage of your lives, strive to accomplish what our class has always been destined to do: embrace our birthright and create change in our world. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Kelly Myers. Kelly will be attending Kenyon College in Gambier, Ohio in the fall.
Over the last 13 years, the class of 2018 has seen Mounds Park Academy through countless changes. New students, graduating students, new teachers, retiring teachers, even renovations to the building. Inversely, the school has also seen our class change throughout our 13 years. Old students leaving, new friends coming to MPA, and the growth of our class from eager 5-year-olds to rambunctious middle schoolers to the group of amazing individuals sitting on this stage. The accomplishments of the class of 2018 are numerous and perhaps best defined like a counting game. In the MPA class of 2018, there is 1 student who has studied abroad in Ghana. There are 2 state speech champions, 3 students receiving graduate certificates of distinction, 4 Wisconsinites, 5 exchange students, 6 seniors involved in the Sound of Music, 7 section leaders in choir, 8 peer leaders, 9 seniors on the boys basketball team, 10 seniors in debate, 11 members of the 13-year club, 12 National Honor Society members, 13 years of priceless education, 14 field trips, 15 students who joined this class in middle school, 16 club leaders in 17 different clubs, and 18 seniors in choir. This list could obviously go on, but as our well-rounded MPA education informs us, numbers are only part of the equation. The class of 2018 overflows with intellectual curiosity and compassion for one another and the world around us, both individually and as a group. From the beginning of kindergarten, our class has always been ambitious in our academic endeavors. I can still see Declan carrying around his pocket dictionary in kindergarten, and Rachel and Sumner reading constantly, and sometimes even getting in trouble for not being able to put their books down. We continue to push our intellectual boundaries in middle school with creative research and SEEK projects about everything from the digestive system to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to what we hoped were publishable novels. Of course, some of us already were published authors. In the last 4 years, after arguing actual Supreme Court cases at the Minnesota Judicial Center, using the principles of physics to design and build bridges, and pushing ourselves to think critically about issues ranging from the environment to diplomacy to cultural competence, we are ready. The skills of questioning, thinking, and innovating that we honed in discussions, in assessment preparation, and the very hands-on projects of MPA have prepared us to take the next step, whether we're headed to Washington, Texas, Maine, or staying in Minnesota. However, our intellectual curiosity is only one component of how we are ready to take the next steps outside of these walls. Another factor is our embodiment of MPA's mantra of dream big, do right. Although a relatively new slogan, I like to think the class of 2018 has helped define it and has encapsulated it perfectly the last 13 years. Because we have dreamed big, we've made aspirations of publishing articles, producing music, and even becoming Olympic athletes a reality. Our teachers have shown us the value of doing right on a daily basis by teaching us how to apologize and forgive in lower school, helping us to diffuse drama in middle school, and expecting us to use our ability to do right in the world through service, like laying a mulch path around the pond, redesigning the middle school science garden, stocking carts at a hospital, tutoring younger students, and even raising money for tuition and medical and dental needs in other countries. Rather than scoffing at the compulsion to do good, we are inspired by it. In sum, the academic endeavors and desire to do right in the class of 2018 will add up to 51 members who will go on to pursue careers in every subject area, from math to music, science to sports, English to education. Thank you to everyone who has taught us, reprimanded us, redirected us, challenged us, and inspired us. You have made us work harder and think more creatively than we thought we could. The 51 members of the class of 2018 have proven that when the parts of academic achievement and compassion for one another and the world around us are added together, the sum is people with the ability to do well and the desire to do good. You can count on us, like we have counted on you, to pay it forward.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Pranay Somayajula. Pranay will be attending the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. in the fall.
When I was a kid, we owned several anthologies containing every Calvin and Hobbes comic ever published. In one such comic strip, Calvin is seen taking a test at school, in which he has to answer the question, when did the Pilgrims land at Plymouth Rock? He proceeds to write down the correct answer of 1620. But then he follows it up with, as you can see, I've memorized this utterly useless fact long enough to pass a test question. Now, I intend to forget it forever. This is clearly an exaggeration of the sarcastic capabilities of any 6-year-old, but author Bill Watterson used this particular panel to offer a widely held criticism of the American education system. That the system just exists to pump students full of information that they'll promptly forget as soon as possible. But even as the belief that education's sole purpose is to transfer knowledge has dominated the American system for well over a century, there have always been a select few who thought outside the box. When MPA opened in 1982, it was founded by a small group of social justice crusaders who were well outside the norm for educators of their time. Just look at founding faculty member Richard Meecock, who didn't just pioneer mandatory Chaucer recitations. He led the charge for MPA to be one of the first schools in the state to implement policies protecting and accepting LGBTQ students. From those early days of being at the forefront of social justice, to the current administration's enthusiastic support of change-minded student groups, MPA has always seen its primary purpose as being to educate and to nurture the next generation of changemakers. This education isn't some magical process, however. Instead, it's the result of years of carefully planned and coordinated lessons. For example, one of the most important qualities a changemaker can possess is the capacity for resilient self-evaluation. As anyone who participated in the planning of the March 14th student walkout can attest to, we faced a lot of pushback from our peers and even a few of our soon-to-be fellow alumni for several aspects of how the event was organized. And while we were proud of the walkout's overwhelming success, the reality is that there were things we should have done better. Fortunately, MPA has prepared us for exactly this sort of self-evaluation. By hiring teachers who are not afraid to challenge us and push us to be the best students and leaders we can, and who foster a school community where students feel empowered to give their peers constructive criticism, MPA has equipped us with the resilience we need to make a difference. Beyond just resilience and self-evaluation, however, making change requires an understanding of our own power and of the responsibility we hold to exercise that power. From the earliest grades on, our teachers have taught us the extent of our capacity to make a difference. From Miss Atchison's 8th grade dollar project to Mr. Thompson's yearly reminder to save the ducks, our teachers have shown us that we can make a difference, no matter how small. But beyond just showing us our power, our teachers have also made a point to remind us of the responsibility that comes with it. We all remember learning about the destructive complicity of bystanders through Miss Murr's lessons on the Holocaust and the AIDS crisis. We have taken to heart the lesson that when ordinary people fail to use their power to stand up for change, injustice happens. We've seen this combination of power and responsibility in the remarkable success stories of MPA's alumni, from Zach Quinn co-founding Love Your Melon, to Munira Khalif representing the voices of America's youth at the United Nations. But we, the class of 2018, have just as much potential to change the world, if not more, than generations of Panthers past. Rather than being written off simply because we're too young to understand, for the first time in our lives, young people are finally being taken seriously. Just look at our peers in Parker. They have used their voices to challenge a system that has too often been willing to ignore and dismiss them, and in so doing, have managed to entirely reshape the national political conversation. Make no mistake, class of 2018, we can follow in their footsteps because we have real power to go out and to change the world. Karl Marx once wrote that the philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. That quote may be a little ironic, given that over the course of this speech I've referenced no fewer than 3 great philosophers, Marx, Calvin, and Hobbes. But it couldn't be any more appropriate for our graduation from Mounds Park Academy. We've spent the last 4 years interpreting the world, and in doing so, we have been equipped with the tools we need to change it. Our stories over the last 4 years are a testament to that. Now, it's time for us to walk out these doors and continue down that path of making change. But as we do so, we can rest easy, knowing that MPA will still be here at 2051 Larpenteur Avenue East, preparing and inspiring future generations of changemakers to do the same, so that the world will never be lacking of those heroic individuals who can dream big and do right. Thank you.
What do you want to do with your life? In reality, you can answer that question quite simply with a single word: act, write, travel, teach, invent. Better yet, with 4, dream big, do right. The more profound question than the one that shall not be repeated is the follow-up question, the one that far too few people take the time to ask. For what purpose? Why? Why are you pursuing that path? Why does it matter to you? Why is it important? These are the questions that promote a deeper understanding of you and your place in the world. Because purpose implies something bigger than just you. Stanford University professor William Damon, author of The Path to Purpose, defines purpose as an intention to accomplish something that is at the same time meaningful to oneself as consequential to the world beyond oneself. Purpose is dreaming big and doing right. It's at the heart of what we do each day here at NPA. To me, purpose is the sum of one's gifts, passions, and calling. To uncover these, ask yourself, what are my natural gifts? What have I always done well? What am I doing when I lose all track of time? What are my passions? What do I love to do? How do I spend my free time? What is my calling? What connections to the world do I feel? What would I change about the world if I were given a magic wand? What problem compels me to act? From your first days at MPA, whether you started in kindergarten or last year, your teachers have been asking and probing and encouraging you to define and pursue all three of these areas. Your parents have been at it even longer. In his book, Damon says that finding a clear purpose in life is essential for achievement and satisfaction, and that doing so is a good deal harder than it should be in our present-day cultural environment. And while that may be true more broadly, I'd like to think that you're well prepared for the path to purpose. You have acquired the tools and skills you need. You can think critically and solve problems. You can communicate your ideas with conviction. And you're off to a right-fit college or university to continue to build on what you have learned and experienced at MPA. You might not be able to define your purpose exactly right now, and that's okay. And you might change your purpose as you go, or add new ones over the years as you continue your education, pursue different careers, meet new people, and explore new parts of the country and world. When I was a little boy, I thought I would become either a garbage collector or a gas station attendant. Should I ask how many people remember gas station attendants? By middle school, I had narrowed it down to two other possibilities: becoming president or pope. By high school, I was certain I would go to law school, that I'd be in public service, like my father and his father before him. In my heart, I knew that there was purpose in serving others. But in college, I had an epiphany that the way for me to change the world was through education. I realized that I would be more effective in serving the common good through teaching. And boom, I was on the path to purpose. I loved teaching in my time in the classroom and treasured the relationships I built with my students. After several years of teaching, I had the opportunity to move into administration as a dean of students in an area public or private school. My predecessor was a disciplinarian. He saw the world in black and white. He had a terrible rapport with the students. He seemed to enjoy catching students doing badly instead of rewarding them for being good. When I was selected for the position, one of the mothers whose child had had me as a teacher said to me, "What were they thinking when they picked you? You're too nice." It's that sense of purpose and commitment to building a welcoming, inclusive, and academically strong culture that defines me. It's serving the common good and having an impact on students, parents, and faculty that drives me. In examining your own purpose, ask yourself, what do I have that the world needs? What have I discovered and uncovered in my skills and passions during my time at MPA? What am I going to do in college to continue to be of service to my community? How can I build a sense of purpose in my life throughout my lifetime? I recently heard Nave Raju, an innovation and leadership advisor and best-selling author, speak at a convention. His address, entitled Beyond Smartness, Leading Wisely in a Conscious Society, examined how our abundant inner resources, such as love, ingenuity, and wisdom, qualities beyond intelligence, can be consciously directed towards a better future. In his book, From Smart to Wise, Raju says, "Wisdom leverages your intelligence. Your thinking and your leadership become more adaptable, broad-based, and sustainable. Wisdom gives you ethical clarity and a sense of purpose, enabling you to apply your smartness to service of the world. When wisdom provides the moral compass, smartness becomes much more potent." Raju introduces us to a concept called perceptual filter. He says that we all tend to have a perspective on life that is relatively narrow. This is our perceptual filter. It's like a pair of glasses tinted glasses that condition how we organize and interpret the meaning of everything that we experience. The longer that we wear our perceptual filter without challenging it or finding a vantage point outside of it, the more that we become attached to that limited, narrow focus. We see only what we want to see. Raju encourages us to widen our focus, to include the whole spectrum, to maximize our potential. At MPA, we've challenged you to expand your viewpoint, to expand your perceptual filter. We've encouraged, maybe demanded you to ask questions, to explore new ideas, to truly know one another. Wise leadership is not about giving up our smartness, but transcending it, and gaining a broader perspective on life. That perspective enables us to rein in smartness and harness it to serve a larger purpose in an ethical and appropriate manner. You are entering a world of rapid, unprecedented change. Most of the jobs you will hold in your lifetime haven't yet been created. Artificial intelligence and technology are advancing at a mind-blowing rate. It is amazing to think of the machines that you'll have at your fingertips. Ironically, with all this technological advancement, we will rely even more on what are called the soft skills, the human skills. You are the first generation to grow up with high-speed internet. You've probably never heard the discordant, modulating pitch of a dial-up modem, or heard the phrase, "You've got mail." Throughout time, older generations have looked upon young people with concern. There's a perception that they're self-centered, have it too easy, don't understand the concept of hard work. But what we've seen from you and from your generation is character, competence, and commitment to change the status quo, to shake the world. When students around the country staged a walkout to protest school violence, you did more. You registered to vote. You wrote your legislators and held a forum to delve deeper into the situation, beyond the headlines, sound bites, and tweets. You know you have something to offer to the world, and you're willing to get involved, to change the world, to make a difference, and yes, to dream big and do right. But dreaming big and doing right doesn't need to be out front. It doesn't need to be at center stage. It can be behind the scenes. You can be a researcher, a chemist, taking your scientific gifts and talents and putting them in service to others. You could be a writer and share your insights and ideas to inspire people to act. You can be a musician in a symphony orchestra, making music that moves the soul. All of us here at MPA are so proud of you. We are excited to see what you will do with your skills and talents, gifts, with your calling. You have so many. You have learned to cultivate smartness and value wisdom. You know the importance of developing a broad perceptual filter, and it gives me great hope for our collective future. You also value character. At MPA, we've talked a great deal about character, about serving and respecting others. And this didn't happen in one class, one department. Everyone here, my amazing colleagues, they have in every single way felt very deeply this responsibility to make a difference, to impart character, so that we can create not just a school culture, but a world that values respect, inclusivity, and kindness. You've heard about building character and you've embraced it, and you've passed it on to the younger students. You have been strong role models, worthy of the adoration we all saw in the eyes and the faces of middle school and lower school students in last week's senior walk. They will miss you, and so will I. Purpose helps you organize an inner life, importing not only meaning, but also inspiration and motivation for ongoing learning and achievement. Purpose endows a person with joy in good times and resilience in hard times. and this holds true throughout life. Studies of aging have shown that one of the prime predictors of health and well-being in old age is whether a person continues to be purposeful. What matters most for happiness is engaging in something that you find absorbing, challenging, compelling, especially when it makes a contribution to the world outside of yourself. It's been a privilege to know you, to walk with you these last 4 years. I couldn't help think that the song "You Will Be Found" is your class anthem in so many ways. I remember the story that Rachel told about 7th grade, about a new student, about Sarah sitting by herself and inviting Sarah to come over. And when she was a little nervous, said, "Well, we'll move over there because nobody sits alone." You have been an inclusive community. You have driven down to your values. You have explored your world and asked compelling questions. I wish you a lifetime of happiness, but more importantly, I wish you a lifetime of purpose.
Selmen Abdikafar Adam. Ian Michael O'Shane.
Matthew Simon Burning.
Brock Thomas Glees.
Quinn Amanda Campbell.
Declan G. Delbert.
Marco Lewis Gunn.
Alexandra Ellen Esch.
Thomas Michael Fitzgerald.
Elena Sue Fox.
Abigail Grace Goodnow.
Ryan Clifford Guggenheim.
Nicholas Alexander Young.
Emmett Joseph Huck.
Rosalind Crystal Haas.
Olivia Ann Tian Hawley.
Bennett Owen Hankey.
Blake Alexander Henke.
Devin Parker Hill.
Sylvia Valeria Ujek.
Annika Nadine I.
Catherine Mercedes Jacobs.
Sierra Jean Klein Roking.
Alyssa Johanna Crone.
Anthony Kuba.
Lucy Ann Larson Dolan.
Sarah Elizabeth Lay.
Rachel Ann Lindrew.
Chung Angelina Liu.
Jasheen Charlie Luo.
Nished H. Mahmoud.
Joseph Randall Mecklenburg.
Travis Landry Mudge.
Kelly Elizabeth Myers.
Sarah M. Ndogu.
Jackson Piper Peacock.
Isaiah Pacina.
Kirsten Marie Rowan.
Samaya Marie Sayers.
Henry Alexander Simonson.
Renee Samayajula.
William Shifeng Tao.
Paul Richard Thompson Nelson.
Tekale Thompson Nelson.
Catherine Alice Van Hecke.
Jingjing Emily Wang.
Meg Elizabeth Wilkening.
Sumner Miles Wu.
Benjamin Duke Young.
Bowie